Hey there guys, so I'm always getting asked about my makeup routine, so I thought I would share. Here I am with my primer. I really like this one as a glow primer. It kind of just adds a little bit of a bronze to the under effect. I add about a pump on its forehead and on each cheek, and then about half a pump on my chin. And then as you see here, I'm just rubbing it all in, making sure that I get all of the little nooks and crannies, I guess you could say. Make sure I get my nose area really well, because that is where I tend to get really oily and my makeup tends to kind of rub off most, is around my nose and then in between my eyebrows there. Now I am going in with my concealer. This is to just hide all of my little dark circles under my eyes, and if I'm having a really bad breakout, I also use this on my breakouts. Thankfully, my skin tint seems to have cleared up today, so didn't need that really as much. Then I go in with this little flat brush and just kind of tap it into place. I don't rub too terribly much. It's more just tapping and kind of moving around, I guess you could say. As you see, I did kind of rub a little bit more in the corner just so I could get that spot really well. And I kind of brush it out over my cheek as well. Now here I go in with my matte foundation from Mary Kay. And you really don't need as much as you think. I like to start with less and then add on if I feel like I need it as I'm going. So here I kind of just put it all in kind of the same areas as I do with my primer, except I do add a little bit more on my nose. I go in with the flat part of my blending brush and I tap this on. I do not rub, I tap this on. That seems to work the best, and it helps it kind of just stay on a little bit better too. I know some people say to, maybe go ahead and wet this before you do that. That's totally fine. I don't generally feel like I need to, but to each their own. So as you can see, just kind of going in on all the areas, make sure I get back by my ears really well. Add on a little bit more as I need to go. Press it really well in those oily areas, and then always go down your chin and neck. That way it all blends in well with your neck, and it doesn't look like you have a really stark contrast between your neck and your chin area. I like to use this as my eyelid primer as well. I have found that just works the best for me. Here I am with my concealer again. This is a lighter concealer. This I like to use just kind of highlight my darker areas, so under my eyes and in my T-zone, just to kind of brighten up those areas of my face. And then you'll see I go in with this flatter brush and once again tap. Do not rub too terribly much more, just tapping that away. You're getting it into all those creases, but you're not causing more creases as you go. Found an eyelash. Anyway, tap, tap, tap. Get all of that blended out. I do like to rub a little bit more towards the outsides of the corners of my eyes, just to make sure it blends out really well right there. So just keep going, blend it out really well. Now here I go in with my bronzer. This is Fenty Beauty. I'm not sure the shade actually, I'll have to go back and look. But I go in with this kind of curved brush. I like to brush the concealer onto the brush first and then apply it to my face. I have found that it tends to just blend out a little bit easier for me that way. Once again, mostly tapping, maybe just a little bit of rub as you tap to help kind of just blend this out. I found that if you rub too much, it tends to kind of pill a little bit and kind of roll up into balls, which is annoying. But if you don't rub too much, it doesn't do that as bad. Once I'm done doing my forehead and my cheeks, you'll see I kind of pinch it a little bit to make it more narrow. And I go ahead and contour my nose and as well as under my lip. You'll see that in just a second here, just to kind of highlight the areas that I want to highlight. There we go, under the lip just a little bit. You don't need too much, just enough to kind of just plump up your lip a little bit. Then I also go under the chin. Now this one I do tend to rub a little bit more because I want to make sure that this blends out really well down under my chin along my jawline, just so that way, once again, you don't have that really stark contrast between neck and chin and jaw. So just rub that out real quick and get that all blended out. Now here I go with my blush. This is a cream blush. I like to use this first, not all the time. This is really only if I'm doing a full face of makeup, just to kind of help highlight the blush a little bit more. I found that it tends to stay a little bit better if I use this first, and it lasts me all day long without having to redo my blush halfway through the day. And I just kind of tap this out with my finger, and then I go in with my blush brush and just kind of, once again, blend it all out so that a way it's not too strong in one spot. Now we go in and set it with my MAC Studio Fix Pro Set Blur. It's a loose powder. It's just a translucent powder. I like to use this because it helps set everything, and I really feel like I do not have to redo my face nearly as much when I use this. Just kind of press this into, once again, all of my T-zone area and under my eyes where I really want to make sure everything stays. So I tap, tap, tap. No rubbing, tapping. Once again, it just helps it stay better. Blurs it all out. So as you can see, really applying it to my T-zone first, letting it set while I do the rest of my face. And then I kind of just go over my T-zone a little bit just to make sure that it's really set and good to go. Also, once again, going in under my chin and blurring that all out, making sure that it just really seamlessly transitions into the rest of my neck, as you can see here. And I do tend to rub, once again, on my neck just to make it all clear. Here I am with my bronzer. I like to use this along where I contoured, just to add a little extra definition. I really like the way it looks when I do it this way. Not everybody has to, but I like it. It adds a nice sun-kissed look to it, I guess you could say. So now I like to go in with a powder blush to add a little bit of shimmer to the cheek and make sure that it's nice and pink and that it'll stay all day. Because that's my biggest thing with makeup. I don't like to have to touch it up throughout the day. I like to just make sure it just stays all day long. That is my goal, because I just really don't have time to keep having to go back in and reapply. Here I am with my highlighter. It stayed really blurry, but it was actually a hand-me-down. Somebody gave it to me. They decided they didn't want it anymore. I've really liked it. It's just this really pretty, like, pinky color. Go in with this really thin brush and just go along all of my high cheekbones and then my nose, or the bridge of my nose. Just blending that out. Just add a little bit of shimmer back into my face now that I put on my powder, because you don't want to stay too matte. Okay, so here we go in with my eyeshadow. This is what people really ask for, is what I do with my eyeshadow. So I go in with this darker brown. I like to blow off the excess, and then I start in the corner here and tap, tap, tap until I feel like the majority of the powder has been put on the eyelid, and then I start to blend it out by just kind of rubbing it along the eyelid until I get it where I want it. Just kind of keep blending and blending until it's all nice and smoothed out to the areas that you want. For the next part, I like to use this cream eyeshadow on the part of the eyelid that I want to be lighter. Just kind of take it out, brush it along this area, and then I will go in with another brush. Just, it's really nice and light and fluffy, and I just blend that out. I like to take it into the corner of my eye. That adds a nice little shimmer right there. And once again, just keep blending until you kind of get it how you like it. You can always go in with another brush, just like I am here, and just kind of help blend all that together so it transitions nicely here. Now I go in with that same brush, and I like to take this darker color to add a little bit of darkness to the corner here, as well as it does have a little bit of shimmer, so it just kind of helps shine it up, I guess you could say. Now I go in with another smaller angled brush, and I like to grab another little bit of a shimmer, which unfortunately it broke and now I only have a very little bit left, but I like to grab that little bit of a shimmer just to kind of tie everything together, take it along the top of my eyelid where I put that cream, and then I also like to take it along the crease a little bit just to tie it all together and blend it all really nicely together. You can see a little bit better what I'm doing in this one. I didn't realize my hand was in the way at the first one. Oh well. So there you go, just checking, making sure everything's even. Now at this point, I like to go in with my makeup finishing spray, and I like to go ahead and spray my whole face down to make sure that everything sets before I put on any like mascara or anything, because once I put on the mascara, then it all just tends to go everywhere when I close my eyes. Here I am with a waterproof eyeliner, also from Mary Kay. And I take this along my waterline once I have it sharpened. I like to make sure it's really good and sharpened, that it just tends to go on best that way. Sharpen that up, get it to a nice point. Most eyeliners do come with that in the bottom, just so you know. So like I said, go in the waterline here and just blend it out until I like to go a little past the middle of my eyelid. Not quite all the way to the corner because it's not 2016 anymore. But just get that over there and move on to the other side. Once both eyes are done, I go in with my matte waterproof liquid eyeliner on the top of my eyelid. I have found that I really like the way this one looks for that area, and it also just pulls out to a nice wing. I start out in the outer corner because that's where it's going to end up being thickest, just to get the excess off, and then I go in the inner corner and I just go in a really thin line all the way across. Sorry for all the blinking, my eyes were watering like crazy this morning. So as you see, just go along the inner corner, get it how I like it, and then get that outer corner with the wing, and just try to slowly build out the wing. I have found that works the best for me, so my wing doesn't get too big, and it's easier to make them even on both sides. As you can see, double check, make sure they're good, and then move on. Now I like to take this thin angled brush. Usually people use this for your eyebrows, but I really like it for adding a little bit of extra eyeliner on the bottom of my eye. I also use this for the top when I'm doing just a quick like 10-minute makeup look, but it just kind of helps smooth it out, add a little bit more to the bottom. As you can see here, I forgot, I also like to make sure I go in and remove any of the liquid eyeliner that I got on my lashes, because it tends to just make it to where my mascara doesn't go on quite as smooth. So take all that off, just brush it off onto a tissue of some sort, and continue on with what you're doing. Now I go in with another thinner brush here, and I just blend out and kind of smooth out all of that eyeshadow that I just put on in my bottom lashes, just to smooth it out, I guess. Now here I go in with my eyebrow pencil, Precisely Eyebrow. Brush out the eyebrows first, make sure they are good to go, and then you'll take pointed side. I like to start in my outer corner on my arch and get that how I like it, and then I will go to my inner corner and fill in the sparse areas of my inner corner next. I don't do my whole eyebrow because I feel like it just makes my eyebrows way too dark when I do the whole eyebrow. So I fill in the sparse areas, and then I go back in with the little brush and I blur it all together so it's not quite so stark of a difference. As you can see here, you can kind of see it blending out. I like to use it to blend out a little bit more towards the inner part of my, kind of towards my nose, I guess you could say. Next, we take the eyelash curler, and we curl our eyelashes. This part still scares me to this day. I really do not like using this, but unfortunately, I am one of those people where my eyelashes stick straight out. There's no curve to them whatsoever. Then I like to go in with my Lancome eyelash primer. A friend of mine got me started on this a couple of years ago, and I will never go back. It makes my mascara look so much better, and it lasts 10 times as long. And it actually surprisingly comes off easier when you use the primer as well. Let's go in with the primer. Next, I go in with my mascara. This is the Mary Kay Lash Love Fanorama. I've really liked this one. It just goes on really well, and it kind of adds to my eyelashes. I like to start with the bottom lashes first, because then any mascara that's on my top lashes tends to touch my eyelid, and then I end up having to wipe it off and kind of retouch up my eyeshadow. So I just start on the bottom. It's easiest for me, and then I move to the top, as you'll see here in just a minute. I have no rhyme or reason to this. I tend to just kind of go until I feel like it's good enough. Yeah, so just kind of touch up any areas that you feel like you need to touch up and just keep going. So here's the finished product, how they look. Now I like to go in with a Q-tip, and I like to just kind of clean up the areas that might have smudged while I was putting on the mascara. And here's the finished product. Hope you all enjoyed.